The Crypto Markets Update is brought to you by KuCoin, the best place to find the next crypto gem. Here's our live look at Bitcoin. The CoinDesk Bitcoin price XBX index currently at $36,628. Bitcoin sliding about 4.4% over the past 24 hours. The CoinDesk Ether price ETX index at 2609 ETH, also retreating about 6%. The DFX CoinDesk DeFi index down 289. That is a loss of about 8% over the past 24 hours. Joining us now to discuss the crypto markets is Michael Arbus, CEO of Canadian trading platform Bitbuy. Hello there, Michael. All right.
Good morning.
Quickly, just good morning. Off the bat, what is your crypto markets outlook? Seems to be that I don't know. It's in a bit of a range between 30 and 40.
Yeah, we're an exchange up in Canada, and so these opinions would not be that of the exchange and just my own personal view. When we look to digital assets, it's an allocation decision on the foremost. For every $100, you decide what you want to put towards it to make that disclaimer. Of that allocation you make into the asset class, clearly I have a view that Bitcoin is moving higher. Could start there.
Okay. So you're implementing Eventus Validus to surveillance trades on your trading platform. You're monitoring client trading behavior, identifying any potentially problematic activity that requires further investigation. What bad behavior would that look like?
Well, Bitbuy was Canada's first regulated marketplace. So similar to some of the changes you've seen on the regulatory frontiers occurring in the US right now, Canada was ahead in many respects, and we were the first to obtain that license. Part of obtaining the approvals to operate a marketplace was working with market surveillance software. So Eventus had a tool called Validus, which we had reviewed many tools out there, and part of our regulatory requirement was to manage and oversee all trades that run through our marketplace. So looking at things like spoofing, fictitious order placements, things that would be manipulative behavior on our ATS or on our marketplace. Eventus solution was superior, easy to install, easy for us to monitor from a compliance perspective, easy for us to report to our regulators when things don't look right, and for us to take immediate action and remove bad actors from our marketplace.
So, Michael, when you look out at other exchanges, do you think that we're seeing things get worse when it comes to the likes of spoofing and wash trading? You know, we seem to have, it's always been a problem plaguing the crypto markets. And has it gotten worse as the market has gotten bigger?
It's quite easy to plug into multiple exchanges with the same commodity trading on hundreds of avenues. This is not something we saw in the equity markets. And the ease of entry into that world of automatically, programmatically watching your trade activity is much more simple in the crypto world. We have open API connections. Users can enter our marketplace through API and algorithmically trade through our marketplace. So as the market gets more depth and more volume, certain strategies are a lot more effective than when markets are thin. So yes, my view is that as market depth becomes to more maturity, you'll see a lot more algorithmic behavior occurring, in which case you'll see a lot more of the activity that may have been prevented and removed from equity markets that today is not really watched for in crypto markets. But that activity will decline as markets become regulated. Prior to us having to go through the gauntlet of regulation, it's not activity that we spent a lot of time thinking about, and now it's regulated and we must watch it.
Is there a geographic difference you find in terms of where the exchanges are located, is particular centralized exchanges where they're located? Are you finding that there are questionable behaviors happening in certain either countries, jurisdictions, et cetera, where that happens more frequently than others?
Yeah, our perspective as Canada's largest, or one of Canada's largest exchanges, is that we need to watch the activity of tokens and currency coming into our platform, and as well we need to have a view on where it's going when it leaves our platform. And we do our best to ensure that activity that's moving to less regulated markets is something that we steer away from. So we'll heavily monitor a user, for example, that might be sending their coins to a less regulated regime. I can only tell you this, that compared to 1 year ago before we went through the regulatory process, our behavior, our staffing that was dedicated towards compliance, and things like Eventus' solution and Validus. Those things were not things that were forefront and center. And as you can tell from some of the global exchanges and the behavior patterns you've seen, regulation is, the 2022 theme. And I can just tell you, as someone who sat on both sides of the fence, both deeply involved in crypto and in conventional equities for multiple decades, it's quite comforting to know that regulation is bringing great behavior, monitoring, things like insurance over your hot wallets and extra insurance over your custody, reporting to regulators every single month with booklets of information and having them vet it to make sure that what you're doing is right, is all with user protection in mind.
Michael, just to wrap up, looking at the larger crypto market, I think, many people feel that 2022 has gotten off to a pretty lackluster start, hearing talk about a crypto winter, bear market. What is the main, your view of why we've sort of, the Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies have sort of been in the doldrums, relatively speaking, early this year?
Yeah, we talk a lot about that too. So you'll see a global overall exchange activity in decline. So we spend a lot of time speaking about, well, why in this particular pullback might volume, why was there not an immediate inflow of fresh buying? And we've concluded here, based on our look at our data, is that you had an initial set of declines. You had people take their bet on what they call buying the dip. And now we're sitting in a situation where the linkage to conventional equity markets and things like the NASDAQ have never been more prominent given institutional adoption. So when you wake up in the morning and see the VIX at 22, Facebook off considerably, Spotify off, Google up, how do you make a decision, since that behavior of the overall markets is linked to that of the crypto markets today because of the institutional overlap? That's the theme that we talk about. Why do we think it's not going higher? I remember a story from 2008, 2009. I was sitting in a boardroom. The markets had just sold off on the subprime crisis significantly. I'm at a global bank. And it was the young folks saying, this will never come back. It's time to sell. And the 40-plus crowd at that time, who were considered aged, said, the one thing I know is that I'm involved in the stock markets and financial markets, and they will be higher by the time you retire. You have to have a view. And so my view personally, and that's why I've chosen a career in crypto, is that markets will move higher.